something really satisfying about building a new desk setup, and in this video I'm going to take you through my new minimal aesthetic and affordable working from home setup. Now in my last desk setup video I showed how I built my budget and student friendly minimalist setup, which was fantastic for its purpose at the time in that I didn't spend an awful lot of time at my desk day to day. However, in the new norm of working from home, what I wanted to do is build a more functional setup, but still keep a really clean, really modern looking aesthetic space. There are three main reasons why I love minimalism as a concept when building setups. And number one is that personally, I think it looks the best. I really like the whole aesthetic, modern style. Number two is that it's the most productive workspace in that minimalism is based around essentials. So you can be really intentional with what is on the desk and really minimize distractions to make sure that we're being really productive when working. And number three is out of pure necessity in that I don't have a lot of space. I now have to work in my bedroom, so my bed is literally here, my desk is here. So I haven't got a lot of space, I've got to make the best out of it, but that's fine. You can still build a really cool and modern looking setup. I like to use minimalism as a basis of building the setup and then add my own mark and character with other little bits to make it my own, because ultimately I'm the one that's going to be sat here for hours and hours a day. So let's get started with the desk itself, which I've kept the same as before, which is the Castellan desk from Wayfair. This desk got rebranded and now costs £230, but at the time I picked it up for £147, which is a pretty good price for a desk relatively speaking. It is a little smaller, 60 centimeters deep and 120 centimeters wide, but I wanted to keep this desk because superficially it's exactly the modern kind of style that I'm going for. It's a super clean, minimal white desk, and I love that the drawers are 3 different colors, adding some flavour, making it a bit more interesting. I also really like the wooden legs, which contrast the desk nicely, and as they're angular, it gives the desk a more geometric, Scandi aesthetic, which I really like. Minimal does not mean boring. There are so many amazing designs out there for desks, and you can find them from a simple search in Google or literally Made, Wayfair. If you've got a bit more money, Skloom. So whilst IKEA makes life easy, it's so unbelievably boring, and there are so many amazing sites which have tons and tons of desk designs. So please, let's boycott the Alex desk. It's so infuriatingly boring and lazy. On that note, let's move on. The most important part of the desk setup is the laptop that I work off of, which is the 13-inch 2017 MacBook Pro in Space Grey. Now, as I didn't have to use my desk too much previously, it was a laptop-based setup in that I didn't have a monitor. But now having to do all of my work for hours a day at this desk, a 13-inch screen working with loads of different spreadsheets simultaneously, whilst possible, is not the most efficient or productive. So I've added a monitor and I've hooked the laptop up to this 23-inch Dell P2317H monitor, which I took from the office, which is now the focal point of the desk. I'm not a gamer, so I'm not too bothered by anything too sophisticated here, but this is perfect for my own work use. The borders are super slim, so you can get the most out of the screen, and the picture quality is great. It's ideal for work use with the comfort view feature, which reduces the amount of blue light being emitted, so it's pretty ergonomic and practical. Now, I believe that Dell have now updated this monitor to the P2419H monitor, but it's on Amazon for about £149. So again, relatively speaking, in terms of monitors, it's a pretty affordable buy. I have the MacBook in a vertical laptop stand by ClearLook. I've seen the 12 South Book Arc stand, and I think it looks great, but I also think it's an absolute rip-off at £50. So I wanted to test out this ClearLook vertical stand, which I got for £13 off of Amazon, and it's been absolutely fantastic. The build quality is brilliant, and I can't believe that the 12 South Book Arc is going to be tangibly different. It's really stable and has rubber edges on the bottom for the desk and the gap for your device, so you're not going to get any scratches. Now, I initially wanted to get a vertical stand for the laptop because I thought it looked cool, and also it would save a lot of space on my already small desk. But it's also been fantastic with overheating, in that often when I'm working and doing a lot at once, my laptop tends to overheat and the fans are always whizzing around. But I've noticed that this happens a lot less, and I think it's probably something to do with the airflow whilst it's standing up. I don't know, but that's been a great additional benefit. The ClearLook book stand has been an absolute winner at £13. As an Apple fanboy, I'm using the Magic Keyboard and the Magic Mouse too. I didn't give this one an awful lot of thought, to be honest. It just seemed like the obvious choice, but I'm open to any alternative recommendations if anyone has any. The design is super modern, and visually it works really nicely with the rest of my setup with the white and blue layers, so aesthetically I'm a fan. The only thing that I find incredibly annoying is where they've decided to put the charging point in the mouse. Like, which imbecile decided to put it on the bottom so that when it runs out of battery, this whole monitor laptop system becomes kaput because I can't charge this at the same time. Why not just put it in the front? But as I say, I like the design of it and it still looks cool. So I'm not going to complain too much. I just need to remember to charge it. The next new addition to my desk setup is the nodal desk pad, which has been a great purchase. The idea of working off of a really clean white desk is amazing, but in reality, it's just not the case. With general day-to-day use, I started marking and scratching the desk, which became incredibly infuriating. So as a solution, I thought I'd try and buy a desk mat for the mouse and keyboard to try and minimize this. And it's been a perfect solution. I got the nodal mat from Amazon for just £16, and I think aesthetically it's perfect, adding some contrast with the white desk, breaking it up from the white peripherals too. There are quite a few different color options, and blue and yellow is my favorite color combination, so that was perfect for me. The mat is made of leather, which is super soft to touch, so it's made typing much more comfortable too, and I can happily have things sat on the desk without having to worry about damaging the desk at all. And if I ever need to write on paper, it's a nicer surface to write on, and again, I don't have to worry about scratching or having the ink bleed through the paper onto the white desk. So the nodal desk pad is another addition that's gone down really well with the setup. I think aesthetically it looks great, it's made working at the desk more comfortable, and it's also solved the problem of marking. So for £16, again, another new addition that is an absolute winner. On my desk, I also keep my 2020 iPad Pro. Now, initially I bought the iPad Pro for fun. I actually bought it for my commutes, which I now no longer have to do, ironically, but it's actually come surprisingly handy for work in that I use the iPad as my own little personal assistant system. Every day, the first thing that I do is write down a list of everything that I want to get done today. So with the minimalist setup in mind, I've ditched my notebook for my daily to-do lists, also earning some eco points along the way, using less paper and going digital. I'll use the reminders app to write everything that I want to get done in the day, and I'll cross things off as I go along. But I like to separate my personal organization and all my emails on separate devices, just because mentally it makes me feel as though things are less hectic than they actually are. I know it sounds a bit weird, but keeping things separate for me just gives me some headspace. The iPad also comes in handy if I ever want any more screen space, in that I can use the sidecar feature to turn the iPad into a second display if I ever want more things open at once. It's so quick and easy to use sidecar, and I can do it wirelessly, so I haven't really had to think about how to integrate this as part of a setup. The iPad just sits here, and if I need it, I can use it. I certainly didn't have this use case in mind when buying the iPad initially, but it is really nice to at least have the option now to turn my one display setup into a, well, 1.5 display setup if I want to. I always have a pair of headphones at my desk, and at the moment I have the silver Bose 700s, which are absolutely brilliant. They are on the expensive side when it comes to on-ear headphones. I think you can get them for about £300 at the moment, but the sound quality is amazing. The noise cancelling is as good as it gets. And whilst they are expensive, I don't mind that too much, in that I get hours of use out of these daily, whether I'm listening to music or taking work calls, or even if I've just got them on with noise cancelling on, just trying to get rid of the ambient sounds of people whilst you're trying to work from home. So to me, these are completely worth it. Technically, it's as good as you get from a headphone, and also they're very durable. I quite like the design of them. I was a little bit skeptical when I saw the design of these, but actually I'm a really big fan of these. They look very futuristic and modern. I think they look quite cool, and they are insanely comfortable too on ear. So I think these are brilliant. I would go so far to say that they're probably one of the best purchases I've ever made, and I can't imagine that I'm going to be changing headphones for a long time now. I've always really liked the idea of having a plant as part of my desk setup, so I was sure to add this as part of this upgrade. I actually made this open terrarium, which I think looks really smart and much more interesting than a generic little desk plant in a pot. I really like how the greenery and the rocks and all the layers in between really kind of break up the overall look of the desk, but it still looks super clean and really aesthetic. Now you can buy these open terrariums ready-made online and in little hipster stores, but they're an absolute rip-off. Building this terrarium cost me only £16, so it's pretty cheap and it's incredibly easy to do. And in my last video, I actually showed step-by-step how I built this, so be sure to check it out. I think it's so much more interesting than a generic desk plant. Now, I'm not a minimalist, and I don't really plan to be. I just want to use the minimal principles to build a really aesthetic and clean looking setup. And I fear that when minimalism is taken literally, then we go from trying to build an aesthetic, modern looking setup to actually coming up with something that's a bit too clean and ends up looking like it belongs in a hospital, which is absolutely not what we're going for. So To avoid this, what I've done is I've added a few little characters to really represent kind of like things that I like. So I have this little Iron Man Lego brickheads because I'm a little bit nerdy and I like Marvel, and I also really like building Lego. So this is perfect because it's a great size. It also is nice and colourful with the red and yellow in that it also adds a little bit more character, a little bit of flavour to the desk, and also represents something that I like. I also have this little Kiwi puzzle which I got on my travels to New Zealand, and again it's the perfect size. I really like how it looks and it fits in with the whole kind of Scandi aesthetic because it's pretty geometric looking, and overall I just really like how it looks. So I think it's really nice to have these on my desk. It keeps things a little more personal, but also I'm quite lucky in the fact that it adds a little bit of colour and a bit of geometric shape, still in keeping with the whole clean aesthetic. So overall for me, it ticks all boxes as it still fits the overall aesthetic of the desk quite nicely. And that is my current desk setup tour. I'm really happy with it, and hopefully I won't have to change anything anytime soon. But if anyone has any suggestions, then please do let me know. And I hope that that's been somewhat enjoyable, informative, or even inspirational for your own setups. And hopefully I'll catch you in another video very soon.